Welcome to Indie Battles. In this series, we pick characters from different games and pit them against each other to see who would win. Each team gets 3 characters to represent them in an animated Pokemon-style battle to see which team reigns supreme. Now, let's introduce our teams and take a look at their abilities and powers. In the red corner, we have Toby Fox's Undertale. And the very first member of Team Undertale is the crowd favourite Sans. Sans is the first character you meet in Undertale after leaving the ruins, and although he does drop a few hints at how strong he really is during the normal playthrough, for the most part he just seems like a pretty chill dude that loves puns and sleeping on the job. But once we get to the end of the Genocide run, this all changes. Sans seems to have the ability to bend time and space to get around quicker in what he refers to as shortcuts, and he uses this nimbleness in battle to avoid any and all attacks. As for his offense, Sans can summon bones at will, use telekinesis to throw opponents around, as well as summon Gaster Blasters to vaporize anything that gets in his way. And to top it all off, his Karmic Retribution will deal damage over time when any of his attacks land. He does have a few weaknesses though. While he can dodge any attack, he does only have 1 health and 1 defense. So if he does happen to get hit, it's all over. Not only that, but when forced to dodge and use a lot of attacks, he does tend to tire during the course of the battle. Our next member of Team Undertale is the main character themselves, Frisk. Frisk is a young human who holds the power of determination. This power allows them to load and save their game, letting them repeat fights and alter the outcome. There are 2 main versions of Frisk we can talk about, Pacifist and Genocide. In the Pacifist route, Frisk chooses to spare all monsters, building relationships with them instead of fighting. This results in them getting little to no XP, that is, execution points, and not increasing their love, that is, level of violence, meaning a lot less overall stats. To achieve this, they focus on their non-violent act option. This is a contextual ability that can do different things depending on who they're facing, but it can be anything from telling a joke, petting a dog, or even just striking up a conversation. The Genocide route version of Frisk, on the other hand, is a destructive force that uses their powers to kill everything in sight, and all of this killing levels their power up considerably. This version of Frisk focuses on dealing damage with their fight option, usually armed with a knife or similar weapon. Combine this with their ability to load a previous game with determination to retry any botched fight, and this simple fighting style of just non-stop attack makes for one incredibly powerful opponent. The power to essentially reset reality at will does come with a slight limitation. Frisk can't make a save point at just any old time. Instead, something seemingly needs to inspire them for it to happen. For example, the thought of a mouse figuring out how to use a microwave. Both versions of Frisk can also use the check option, which gives important information and hints on how to defeat or de-escalate their opponent. And last of all, Frisk, under certain circumstances, can change their soul mode. This changes the colour of their soul and can alter the way Frisk interacts with opponents, giving them different characteristics depending on the colour. For example, the yellow soul mode that allows Frisk to shoot projectiles, or the green soul mode that allows the ability to block projectiles, just to name a few. And the last member of Team Undertale is Asgore. Asgore is the king of the monsters and is one of the most powerful monsters in the game. This is proven by the fact that he's already killed and taken the soul of 6 other humans by the time you meet him, aiming to collect 7 to become a god and break the barrier to the human world, freeing his kind from the underground. Despite this power, Asgore is actually a kind-hearted monster and doesn't enjoy killing, and even feels guilt for the humans he's killed. This guilt and regret burdens Asgore during battle, and is the reason he holds back much of his power. For example, he will only deal the killing blow if the player has 1 HP remaining, even if the attack would have otherwise finished the job. Asgore attacks both with his trident as well as with fire magic. He has the ability to throw his trident, destroying the mercy button and forcing the player to fight him, as well as strike out with it using orange and blue attacks. Orange dealing damage if the player is standing still, and blue only dealing damage if the player is moving. He has various fire spells at his disposal and throws fireballs in various patterns, including a snake slither, a burst, rings, and even more. That's Team Undertale. Now let's take a look at Team Hollow Knight. First up, we have another fan favourite, Quirrel. Quirrel is a nimble yet cautious fighter you encounter on your journeys through Hollow Nest. In combat, Quirrel waits patiently for the perfect moment and then strikes out with his nail at blinding speeds. He wears the Mask of Monomon on his head, which offers him considerable protection from oncoming attacks and can shrug off attacks with the dip of his head. While he doesn't display a large variety of moves in the game, he's clearly proficient with his nail, even going toe-to-toe with Hornet in a comic, and his sheer speed and agility is enough to get him out of most trouble. He can often be seen sitting at benches, resting and pondering his surroundings. Up next for Team Hollow Knight, we have the Knight. The knight is armed with both nail and spell, and combined with various charms and tools at its disposal, can deal with a lot of different threats. The knight has access to 3 different nail arts: the mighty great slash that packs a huge punch, the cyclone slash that can dish out multiple smaller strikes in a short time, and finally, the dash slash which can catch enemies off guard from a distance. The knight also has access to ranged combat in the form of its Shade Soul spell, and while a lot more situational, can also cast a devastating Abyss Shriek above its head, or slam enemies below with a descending Dark Dive, and given enough time it can even heal itself, although it does need to hit something first with its nail to generate the soul needed to fuel these abilities. By its very nature, the knight is immune to almost all forms of manipulation or mental attack, which can come in handy against some foes. As mentioned earlier, the knight can use loads of different charms to alter its capabilities. But to keep it simple for this battle, it will be using Strength for more nail damage, Shaman Stone for more spell damage, Spell Twister for cheaper spell casts, Long Nail for extra range, and finally Grub Song, which will give it some soul when the knight takes damage. In the context of this battle, it will be every second time. And just take note, the knight specifically doesn't have Void Heart equipped, so there will be no funny business of it transforming into some void beast for this one. And the final member of Team Hollow Knight will be Nightmare King Grimm. Grimm is a fierce opponent, but he also loves his theatrics. Before a fight, Grimm tends to take a bow. If this bow is interrupted, he will immediately go into his pufferfish form, during which he's immune to physical damage and will spit out fireballs for a time. This transformation also happens at set increments as he loses health. Grimm has 2 melee moves, the first of which being the Drill Dive. Grimm blinks into the sky, making a drill shape with his cloak, and then hurtles towards the player and across the floor, leaving a trail of crimson flame in its wake that can make it difficult to chase after him with a melee attack. The other melee attack starts on the ground and is a dashing uppercut, ending in an explosion of fireballs. He can also manipulate his cloak to produce large spikes from the ground that are far-reaching. While he has no trouble closing gaps with his blinks and long-range dashes, he does have a few ranged abilities up his sleeve anyway, able to produce a burst of flaming bats as well as create pillars of flame while floating above the ground, once again making it kinda awkward to hit him with melee attacks while he's doing so. And now, before we get started, it takes a lot of time and effort to plan out and animate these videos, so do me a favour and help me out by sharing it with your Undertale and Hollow Knight loving friends, and leaving a like and comment to help it out with the algorithm. And now, without further ado, let's get this battle started. And there it is, folks. Team Hollow Knight put up an incredible fight, but in the end, Genocide Frisk's raw damage and their ability to load a previous save was just too much to handle. This is just one possible way this fight could have gone, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments on how you think this might have gone differently. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and maybe check out one of these videos on screen now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.